Hello there, YouTube. It is your boy, B3, and we're back with another kicking graphic novel review. Today we're reviewing something that's been long awaited, King in Black. We've been waiting for this event for a long time. I pre-ordered it. I pre-ordered the trade, so I got it like right away after it came out. Super cool book. Kind of comes and it's the event that ended the Donny Cates Venom run. A legendary run. A run that I think will go down in history. Comic history, at least. Okay, so I was kind of supposed to do Empire. I did promise I would do Empire. And I even filmed the review for Empire. And I'm currently editing, a whole batch of stuff. And that review was at the very end of that batch. But something was wrong with the file. And I was like, I feel like I just did it. So I wanted to put some space between it. Because, making the same video twice in a row is, like, excruciating. So I just wanted to put some stuff between it. Is all. So yeah, that's why we're doing King in Black. Plus, I've been talking about it forever, and we read all the Venom stuff leading up to it in Absolute Carnage. The only Absolute Carnage thing we didn't read was the Amazing Spider-Man tie-in, but let's continue. Darkness reigns. After a campaign of terror across the galaxy, Null reaches Earth. And he hasn't come alone. With an army of hundreds of thousands of symbiote dragons at his command, the King in Black is a force unlike any Earth's heroes have ever faced. Eddie Brock, aka Venom, has seen firsthand the chaos that even one of Null's monsters can wreak. Can anyone possibly survive his onslaught? Outgunned and outmanned, Earth's heroes are reeling. It will take everything they've got to face the God of the Abyss as he ensnares the planet in everlasting darkness. Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman present the definitive chapter in their 3-year-long Venom saga that changed everything you thought you knew about symbiotes. And they're raising the stakes for the entire Marvel Universe. Hail to the King. Collecting King in Black 1 through 5 by Donny Cates, Ryan Stegman, J.P. Mayer, and Frank Martin from Marvel Comics. Wah wah wee wah. Pretty dope book. I'm going to walk you through it kinda, hopefully without giving you too much information, but there will be some spoilers, but not so much that you can't read it yourself. So Eddie Brock feels the time coming. He goes to check on Dylan, he notifies the Avengers and other heroes, gets Dylan to safety in a bunker. Symbiote dragons, just a ton of different Grindels show up. And I'm glad I read Empire before this, but it wasn't as necessary as the wiki made me think it was going to be. I didn't read the story of King in Black before I read the trade. I just went to the wiki to see what I needed to read before it. And while they were right about, like, Silver Surfer Black, Empire's only really relevant right at the very beginning, where they use some Kree and Skrull tech to try to stop Null, and it completely 100% fails. Like, it really doesn't even slow him down. The whole planet is starting to get covered in a symbiote that Null can control. He brings down Celestials, like the corpses of Celestials wearing symbiotes, and he's using them to fight. He's putting everyone on Earth in symbiotes so he can control them. The Sentry shows up to fight him. That's right, the Sentry. Remember, he came back in Doctor Strange. I didn't review that Doctor Strange volume, but I kind of want to read it just to see how the Sentry comes back. But I am going to read the, Sentry miniseries that spun out of that. And Null fucking obliterates Sentry. Like, what a shot. I screamed. I was sitting right on the futon behind me reading this, and I fucking screamed when he did what he did to Sentry. Because, and Sentry is really strong. The force of 1,000,000 exploding suns, he can control molecules, he can resurrect himself from the dead, but it's all offset by this evil force within him called the Void that always does as much evil as he does good. And so Null does something to Sentry that he's done to somebody else, and then Null like, absorbs the void. Holy shit. So now Null also has the power of the fucking void? One of the most powerful evil forces in all of comics? Okay, that's pretty fucking wild. That's pretty fucking wild. It was nice to see Storm kicking a lot of ass in this. I've been reading a lot of classic X-Men recently, even though I don't read a lot of X-Men. I kind of forgot how much I used to love Storm as a kid. And I'm glad she had like a big part in this book. Eddie and his symbiote reconnect to the Hive. Null, of course, rips his other off of him. Eddie almost dies. He gets fucked up really hard. You know, Spider-Man has to help while also fighting off possessed Avengers and X-Men and shit. Dylan's around. Namor's around. Spider-Man... Spider-Man's being very... He's pretty good with Dylan. I gotta say, Spider-Man's pretty good with kids. He really is. It really makes you appreciate... What was that book called? Renew Your Vows? Yeah, I reviewed a few volumes of that. I need to finish reviewing that. Just, like, Iron Man incorporates symbiote shit into his armor and, like, starts to pilot one of the dragons, which is pretty excellent. Dylan helps fight Null and stuff. Thor finally shows up, that Donny Cates Thor. I really want to read the Donny Cates Thor run. And holy shit, the Avengers are getting so strong. Silver Surfer Black appears. Dylan enters the Hive. Doctor Strange goes full god. There's so much going down. This is one of the biggest battles with some of the highest stakes that we've seen on Earth, probably. It's insane. I loved this book. We get some more history of Null. We find out it was a bit of an incomplete history because there was a God of Light as well. And it turns out the God of Light is something that's been in Marvel Comics for a while. We just didn't know it was the God of Light. And it actually makes a lot of sense. But the God of Light gives Eddie its power, you know. And then Eddie has that, as well as some other famous weapons from the Marvel Universe that he combines into one big kick-ass weapon. He fights Null. It's super insane. The level of power at play here is almost unimaginable. It's wild. There's this really cool part with Blade and some vampires that really made me chuckle. I'll let you find out what that is for yourself. Dylan loses his powers. And Eddie becomes the new King in Black. And that's pretty much the only thing I predicted out of all this. Eddie becoming the god of the symbiotes is kind of the only thing that I predicted. Everything else, Iron Man piloting the Grendel and the freaking God of Light and the Sentry stuff, I didn't even think Sentry would show up, but it makes a lot of sense for Sentry to show up because, one, it really established Null's power right off the bat and made Null infinitely more powerful. It got the big power player Sentry out of the Marvel Universe because every time Sentry's around, they find some excuse to get rid of him just because he's so powerful. And that, like, people just don't know what to do with him, writers, I mean. And also Sentry is kind of light-based, and Null is darkness-based, so it made sense. But holy shit, that was a great book. It reads really fast. Like, it's a very fast-paced book, extremely fast-paced. I've only read 2 tie-ins, the Planet of the Symbiotes and the Venom issues themselves that end the run, Venom Volume 6, which I will be reviewing. I already have Al Ewing's Venom Volume 1 on my wish list. It's not even close to being out. I think it's going to be like a year, but still, it's coming. Absolutely fantastic book. Great art. Great writing. It's really fast-paced. There are little gaps that you have to fill in with, there are gaps that you need to fill in with tie-ins. But to be honest, I kind of completely understood it without that. As long as you read Donny Cates' Venom, an absolute carnage, plus the Venom Unleashed trade, all the Web of Venom stuff, you'll probably be fine. Like, you'll probably be okay. If you kind of just know how Empire ends, like, yeah, Silver Surfer, King in Black would be pretty helpful, but it's not entirely necessary. This is actually pretty simple for a Marvel event, and I think that's one of the reasons I liked it so much. Well, first off, it was horror monster, which, you know, is like my main thing. Yeah, superhero comics are the ones I review the most, but that's because those are the ones that exist the most. Plus, I still love them, but this is horror monster, so it gets priority. I'm instantly going to love it more, even if it's bad. I'm still going to at least like the aesthetic and stuff. Probably. But the story was good. I trust Donny Cates with comics, you know? I really do. I trust him. I trust Ryan Stegman. I trust the whole creative team on this book and on the Venom Ongoing. But yeah, if you just read the Venom Ongoing and then the Absolute Carnage, you'll be fine, I think. That's really all you have to have. Maybe Venom First Host also. That would be okay. But Sleeper doesn't even appear in this, so I guess you don't really have to read that. I do recommend reading that before the Venom run, though, and if you need to read the Venom run before this, then that's smart. So that's it for King in Black, the long-awaited event. Marvel and DC are both really investing heavily in their monster characters. That makes me really happy. I can't wait for the next Venom volume. I can't wait for the next Immortal Hulk volume. I can't wait for DC vs. Vampires, or for Red Hood to lead a team of frickin' zombie supervillains. Can't wait for that new Swamp Thing limited series to have trades. I think it's going to be in 2 separate trades. I'm excited for all the monster stuff that DC and Marvel seem to be doing, and even more so the indie stuff. I am going to try to do more indie and third-party publisher stuff in the future, but I got a lot of these to catch up on first. So that's it. Thank you all very much for your support. Please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Check out all the cool links in the description below, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And next time, I'll bring you some more Venom-related goodies.